Ladies and gentlemen, are you into pro wrestling like my good friend DP over here? If you are, we've got a giveaway going on our channel at the moment. We'd like you to get involved. DP is about to give you some of the details.
Thank you so much, Frozzy. So on Sunday the 19th of March, No Mercy Wrestling's first anniversary event called Sweep the Leg is going down in Caerphilly, Wales. Matches that are announced so far that you can go ahead and see are Will Cruz against Jay Joshua, Shane Hooker against Nico Angelo, a tag match as the Devil's Rejects, Big Van Wesker and MJ Grayson take on Oliver Sudden and a mystery partner. And for the Combat Legacy Championship, James Ellis defends the title against Joseph Connors. Plus, there's many more to be announced.
So more matches coming up to be announced for that show, but it sounds like a good one. So if you want to be an unfortunate victim and get to meet our very own DP, who will be attending this show, why don't you head on over to our page on Twitter, get on the YouTube. The rest of the instructions of how you can get multiple entries will be on this video following mine and DP's ugly mugs disappearing. Get yourself involved, head over to the show, say hello to DP, give him a little slap about. But yeah, enjoy yourself because it's 2 free general admission tickets. So do enjoy the show. Thank you very much. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the HCW UK Indie Review Show with myself, Frozzy, and my good friend DP. How are you doing today, buddy?
Yeah, not too bad, not too bad. Happy to be here once again to review a show with you, and you know how it goes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So you attended RevPro Live in London 70. As an overall show, decent.
Yeah, I mean we'll get into it in a second, but yeah, just as a what's the word? Long story short, yeah, a very enjoyable show. Yeah, top to bottom, just thoroughly enjoyable.
Nice. Yeah. Well, what we'll do is we'll kick it off and we'll go straight into the first match, which I believe was for the RevPro Undisputed British Cruiserweight title, which was Robbie X against Kid Like Us. If you want to kick us off with that match.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, a bit of mouthful when the name of the title, but I don't know.
Mate, something popped up on my screen as I was reading it, and then I was like, I don't want to butcher this, but yeah, something flashed up right in the middle of my screen. So.
Yeah, fair enough. But yeah, Robbie X is the champion, going into the Southampton with Kid Like Us. The match itself was very fast paced, a lot of back and forth between the pair of them. If you're familiar with either of them, you know their work, and they're both fast workers. Lycos is more of a technical sort of worker, more a grappler, whereas like Robbie is more about the acrobatics with the hard hitting strikes and kicks. So we get a lot of those. Lycos is known for hitting his brain buster, where he always shouts "brain buster" before actually hitting the move.
Yeah.
So he does this several times throughout the match, and none of them hit until I want to say maybe the 10th one, and he finally hits one.
Yeah.
For a 2 count, naturally. But we get more spots between the two of them, and we get to the outside of the ring, where we have Gideon Gray on commentary on the other side of the corner from where I am. So I can't see too much from my angle. But Gideon speaks to Lycos and tries to get him to use a cane. And Lycos says no, essentially, and pushes him away. Because of this, Robbie X grabs him and then throws him into the ring, and he hits him with his finish. We'll say it's a spinal tap, sorry. Spinal Tap first off the top rope, and then he gets the finisher for the 3 count and to retain the title.
Nice. So, decent match overall, yeah?
Yeah, very good opener. Very fast paced, enjoyable. It's what you need to get the crowd going, and it did exactly that with two. Well, I'll say one crowd favorite, Robbie X, and Kid Lycos being the normally a heel who's sort of playing a heel here again, but last time he was a face.
Yeah.
So
right. Okay.
So it's a weird sort of divide right now for Kid Lycos in RevPro.
Nice. So yeah, he flips a bit between face and heel.
Not necessarily. It's just like last time he fought. I don't remember who he fought off the top of my head, but he played a face role then because he faced a bona fide heel.
Right. Okay. So yeah, someone who's more established.
Greedy Souls. That was it. It was him and Lycos 2 against the Greedy Souls.
Right. Okay.
So he they played by default the role of the face in that one.
Yeah. Right.
But here against Robbie, he plays the role of the heel. Well, I say heel. Yeah. It was more just a tweener in this one.
Yeah. Well, fair enough. Well, moving on from that then. So we've got Robbie X retaining.
Yes.
We go to a singles match between Dan Maloney and Chris Bronson.
That's right, yes. Driller Dan Maloney. There's a crowd favourite among just Brit Rests in general. Taking on the Stallion, Chris Bronson. I can't lie, I wasn't too familiar with Chris Bronson going into this. I knew Dan Maloney, I knew what Dan Cable were doing. I didn't know Chris Bronson. No offense, I assumed he was a contender, which is like RevPro Young Lions.
Yeah.
But he's not. Afterwards, I did a little bit of a Twitter search, and it turns out he is actually quite accomplished and established. So
fair enough. Well, he hasn't got a profile on Cage Match yet, so if someone wants to set that up for him, go for it.
But going into the match itself, as with most Dan Maloney matches, it's very hard hitting. It's fast paced, but not in the same way as a Robbie X match. Dan's not about the acrobatic style. He doesn't do top rope moves and stuff like that. He's very hard hitting with the strikes, forearms, kicks, stuff like that. So I said here, Maloney has control for the most part of the match. He keeps mocking Bronson in between strikes. So he hits him and then says something to his face, and then we'll hit him again, mocking him in between. A bit later on, Bronson hits a big stalling suplex, so he holds him in the air for a solid 5-6 seconds before slamming down to the mat. We get a tiger suplex from Bronson, which followed by a lariat from Dan. So literally the no-sell, suplex, stand-up, lariat. So both men are sort of lying down at this point. We get So Bronson counters a dive from Maloney into a spinebuster. And shortly after that, Maloney's able to get control again, and he hits the driller, which is his what's the word? Over the top power driver. So he like a what's the word? The gut wrench. Gut wrench up there.
Yeah.
And then brings him down, power driver.
Right. Okay.
So he hits that, and then that puts Bronson away for the 3.
Nice. Well, considering you weren't like overly familiar with Bronson, how was he in the match?
So Bronson, I mean, I don't want to like put him down or anything, but I think it was quite clear that Maloney was going to win this.
Oh yeah, I just meant what was his like.
But like for my first time seeing him, he was quite impressive. He was able to keep pace with Maloney, which is not something that a lot of people can say, considering that his size as well. His size matches Maloney.
Yeah.
Whereas most of the guys that Maloney will face won't match him, like size wise.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's very impressive from that standpoint. But yeah, I mean, I ain't got much to comment on really. He's just quite impressive.
Fair enough.
Following the match, we had a call-up promo from Maloney.
Right.
So Maloney gets on the mic. He calls out Luke Jacobs, who was the former cruiserweight champion who lost it to Robbie X in the Fatal 4-Way at Uprising.
Yeah.
We get a fight ensuing between them. Outcome contenders and not refs, like other people with like tech guys and whatnot, who separate the pair of them. At one point in the ring, they're a bit separated, and somehow there's a break in between them, and then Maloney just spears Jacobs, and the wind is taken completely out of him. Like he is out of it. He's holding his ribs, and he's fighting with the guys holding him back, taking him back to the locker room, saying, Hey, what you doing? What you doing? Like, they're not gonna do it. I'm gonna fight him.
Yeah.
So that he's doing all that, and then eventually they go back. Bearing in mind that Luke's got a match later on tonight as well.
Yeah. Right, fair enough. So we will follow that up with a non-title tag team match between the Greedy Souls, which is Brendan White and Danny Jones, against Callum Newman and JJ Gale.
Yes. So Greedy Souls are the current, as you say, tag team champions of RevPro, taking on the not so established tag team of JJ Gale, who's a recently qualified contender from RevPro, and Callum Newman, the Prince of Pace. They've been a tag team that been going for the last few months or so, but they've lost their matches they've had as a tag team.
Yeah.
So we go into this with a chance for them to get some momentum against the current tag champs, and if they win, potentially even a tag title shot down the line.
Right.
So we start things off with the early advantage going to JJ and Callum, who are very much a speed advantage here. With constant tags, and they force the Souls to tag out to each other constantly, so they're weakening both of them while keeping their edge going. We get like I said, a flurry of speed and flash maneuvers between them to keep the run going. Eventually, the Greasels come back with blind tag, which takes like them the lead. And then with the Greasels, you get a lot of constant and consistent work between them. They're like the British version of, I don't know, maybe FTR.
Right.
Like that's how I sort of compare them in terms of status wise. Like they're very good and consistent workers, and they won't do anything too flashy. They're just solid tag team worker.
Yeah.
But they're heels. And they do a lot of dirty tactics. So like raking the eyes, holding the ropes and stuff like that. Some trash talk from, I believe it was Brendan. Fires up Callum, so Callum gets a bit of a flurry back, but he doesn't do enough to take down the Souls, and eventually they get the advantage on him once again. We then get a backwards top rope stomp. So Callum jumps onto the second or third of the top turnbuckle, jumps back, springboards, and then does a backward stomp onto Brendan, which looked quite impressive from where I was, and it does look quite impressive on Twitter as well if you look at that. But at this point, him and JJ come back to take the fight back to the Souls, but the short flurries that we get from JJ and Callum's not enough, and after enough separation from the Greedy Souls, they get the pin over JJ Gale.
Nice. So they don't get the momentum, they don't beat the tag champs.
They do not. Following this as well, we get a promo from JJ Gale, who says that him and Callum discussed beforehand that if they didn't win this, they would disband the tag team and follow singles paths between them.
Right.
So with that, they're going to be exploring themselves in the singles division rather than tag.
Fair enough. They'll probably end up having a match against each other. So
more than likely, yeah.
Yeah. But we do follow that up then with a singles match between Michael Oku and Eddie Dennis.
Yes. This is one of the ones that people said they were looking forward to most. I don't blame them. Like the amount, like the name statue you've got here as well, and not to mention like these two are well-known names within the Brit Rest scene. Like not even just RevPro, it's just everywhere. Do you know these two?
Yeah.
So we start things off with very friendly combat between the two of them. Oku is the one who's in control at first with like a constant hold of a wrist lock and also a headlock.
Yeah.
Eddie tries to get out of it. He does get out of it, but then Oku transitions straight to another wrist lock or headlock. At this point, Oku turns his back as well, so like mocking him, saying, "Come on, hit me, come on."
Yeah.
Yeah, and then Eddie gets pissed off by it essentially, and then we see a bit more of a lethal side to Eddie, who like essentially like knocks Oku out. Like, yeah, it's quite it's very a ferocious sort of lariat he sort of hits on him. So at this point, Eddie's in control of the match. We get a few things from Oku where he attempts to fight back, but Eddie's in control at this point. He does get some offense in, Oku, but again, as I said, it's not enough for him to get back into it, and he's caught with a slam by Eddie. We get a series of forearms as well from Eddie to keep Oku down. Eventually, we do get a top rope dive from Oku, which lands in the, what's the word? It's like he does this like a high jump, like Olympic sort of jump over the rope. He does one of those. And then he brings him back into the ring for a frog splash, but he lands onto Eddie's knees. We then get some a sweeping slam from Eddie, which hits, but he sort of transitions into Oku does into a half crab attempt, which is his finisher, the half crab. We then get a Razor's Edge into the corner from Eddie, and then a neck stop driver, which is his finisher, to Oku for the 2. We then get Eddie, who's had enough at this point, hitting a second rope crucifix bomb, Razor's Edge, sorry, and that gets another 2, only because he was pinned Oku, and Oku's body was so limp, and Eddie was pulling on the leg so much that he pulled Oku over himself, essentially to break up his own pin.
Okay.
And Eddie attempts another next stop driver, and that is reversed into a half crab from Oku. So he's starting rush momentum, testosterone, we're going to call it. We then get another attempt at a next stop driver from Eddie, which is then reversed into an inside cradle for the 3.
Nice.
So yeah, this was a phenomenal match.
Yeah.
So there's a good thing on there.
It sounds like it as well, because like the 2 guys are really, really good. So
yeah, yeah. I mean, this has a great interval, also a pre-interval match, so that halfway point of the show. After this, we get another promo, but this time from A. Dennis. He says he talks about his history and how he was relieved that he lost his dream job during the last year with WWE. He said he was proud of that, but he's relieved of that because he knew his fingerprints were all over Brit Wrest. Like, people in Brit Wrest, he's had a hand in training them. Most of them, anyway. He said he's proud to have shared a ring with various people that he's had a hand in training them, but also that he didn't want to lose to them. So he brings up people like who did he bring up? Like Sunshine Machine. He fought with his tag team partner, Mark Andrews. There we go. They lost to them. He fought Connor Mills at the last live in London. He lost to Connor Mills. Fought Michael Oku here. Lost to Michael Oku. He didn't want to lose all his matches. He says that at March 26th at York Hall, if he can't win the Revolution Rumble, which is like a big show coming up for RevPro, he doesn't belong in RevPro.
Yeah.
And that causes Connor Mills to come out, who's like a trainee under Dennis. He comes out, your favourite wrestler, by the way. And he comes out.
Yeah, I was going to say your favourite and mine.
He comes out, not sure what he says, but I'm sure it's something more along the lines of like, hey man, what you doing? Are you out your mind?
Yeah.
And then as they're leaving, Eddie comes back in. He sort of rushes into the ring. And he says, you know what? If I can't win at RevPro Rumble, I'm going to retire.
Right.
So that has raised the ante for Dennis to win the Revolution Rumble.
Yeah. Fair enough. Do you reckon he's going to win it?
I mean, now I kind of do. I don't.
Well, fair enough. Well, I suppose we'll see.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So we'll move on. So this was pre-interval, yeah. So we come back from the interval.
Yeah.
And we get the first match back, which again, your friend and mine, Connor Mills, against Luke Jacobs.
Yes. Again, another match that on paper has no reason to, underperform. Like, these two are phenomenal fighters in their own right. Yeah. So first of all, at the bat, I should say, Connor comes out. He's fine, whatever. Luke Jacobs is now sporting a bandage over his rib cage. His midsection, I should say. So Connor Mills starts things off with a hot start, hitting his finisher immediately. 2 count. We get a consistent attacks from Connor on the midsection of Jacobs. Jacobs, being the beast or monster that he is, he somehow finds the fight to come back into it. Yeah, and he starts delivering lariats and strikes again, almost as if he's not, like suffering from a current rib injury.
Yeah.
But any momentum that he does build, Connor hits the midsection, and we're back to square one. Luke can't get anything going because of his ribs. So later on, Luke catches Connor in the air with a cutter. We get more attacks from Connor in the midsection. Luke's able to land multiple super kicks, which does knock the air out of Connor for a moment. But Connor fights back with more strikes in the midsection and a suicide dive. This match is purely Connor Mills hitting that midsection, focusing on that, weakening Jacobs' core. But saying that, Luke does hit a set-up powerbomb.
Yeah.
Connor then proceeds to take a book out of.
Take a leap out.
How was I going to say? Someone who bites a lot. But he basically takes a bite out of Luke's midsection before hitting a running high kick to the corner. They exchange more strikes. Eventually, though, Connor is able to get him down to his knees. He pulls down his knee pad, so like his kick pad sort of thing, and he delivers like a buzzsaw style kick directly to the head of Jacobs, and that gets the 3 count.
Nice.
And that was it.
Decent match then?
Yeah, very good. As the match sort of starts the second half of the show, it was a very good match. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Yeah, I mean, the much else I can say, it was just a fight between 2 phenomenal athletes.
Fair enough. So we followed that up with the first and only women's match on the card, I believe.
Yep.
For the Southside women's title, which was Danny Luna against Jodie Frett.
Yes. So Danny Luna, I think it was Uprising. She beat Kanji for the Southside women's title. Danny Luna, as you might know, is a powerhouse sort of wrestler. And Jodie Frett is making her debut, I believe, in RevPro, all the way from Canada. I want to say I might be wrong on that. I'll have to put a little comment to say if I'm right or not there. But this match. Right. Oh, sweet. Thanks. So this is as most matches in this show. It's a very hard hitting affair. Danny's style is more controlled, whereas Jodie's is more erratic and random. They exchange strikes, go to the outside. Danny throws herself into one of the building walls, while Jodie ducks a charge. So they're outside, like there's these little walls in the back walls, like literally you see the brick sort of pillar, and Jodie goes onto that basically, and is getting ready to take a charge from Danny, and she ducks out of the way, and Danny goes shoulder first into the wall. Jodie throws herself at Danny again on the outside of the ring. Danny responds with strikes and a powerbomb. Both of them are down after a series of exchange strikes, and after the exhaustion sets. Jodie hits a cyclone, which for those who aren't familiar is the F5. And that obviously gets a little bit of a Brock chant going when they start going to do his theme song. Is what it is. Britbus. We get a block from Danny, so a body block from Danny onto a Jodie top rope dive. So she goes for a top rope dive, is blocked by Danny. And then Danny hits a powerbomb from a fireman's carry. I'm not sure what the move's called, but she hits the fireman's carry, powerbomb from there. And that hits the 3 count.
Fair enough. And she retains.
She does.
Nice. So, decent match again overall. First time seeing Jodie Frett as well.
First time seeing Jodie Frett, absolutely. Surprised she got a title match in her first match here. But overall, it was a good match. I will say now, I was personally quite underwhelmed by it.
Yeah.
Not that I expected more, it was just I thought they could do more, but maybe there was time constraints. I'm not too sure what the reason was for it. But this actually does spawn a little promo again, but this time from Gideon Gray, who's in commentary. He comes in, he complains that Jodie Frett is a newcomer to this company, doesn't deserve a title match, says that there's no more skipping a line, and there's a woman who's been consistently skipped over in RevPro, and then that spawns the villainess Sky Smithson come in from the back and attack Jodie Frett. Danny comes back to save Jodie from the attack, but ultimately Danny falls short, and Sky and Gideon essentially stand in the ring victorious. I don't know if Sky's joined the Legion or not, but she's now assumedly with Gideon in some capacity.
Right. Fair enough. So we move on from that match into a tag team match. This is the Arrows of Hungary, which is Dover and Icarus, against the Sunshine Machine, Chuck Mambo and TK Cooper.
Yes, I am glad you did the names because I forgot them for a moment. I spent like 5-10 minutes trying to find the Twitter handles when I was at the show. It was, but yeah, as you say, Icarus and Dover against Chuck Mambo and TK Cooper. Neither of them are in contention for tag titles. Sunshine Machine just lost them after Rising in December, and not lost them. They lost a title defense, I should say, against the Greedy Souls, who were already champions. And Arrows of Hungary have just come back to RevPro after a run in the Great British Tag League.
Yeah.
We have early control from Sunshine Machine. Arrows of Hungary are able to get back into it because they have the more of a strength style. If I had to compare it to a more mainstream example, it'd be like sort of Rusev in his earlier days in NXT, sort of.
Yeah.
So similar to that sort of. That's the way they sort of look, I guess. So we have further combinations and tag moves between both of them to deliver, their signature combat, their signature Arsenal attacks. Sunshine Machine are able to separate one of the arrows at this point. I can't tell the difference between them, so I couldn't put they separated Icarus, they separated Dover. I don't have too much familiarity with them, so I can't separate them. So to me, they're just Arrow 1, Arrow 2, I'm afraid. But yeah, they able to separate them, but they can't put him away. The Arrows are able to return a favour and then separate Mambo from TK, but similar to the last time, they were unable to put him away. The Arrows do eventually hit Crossfire, which is like a running double knee strike from opposite directions. So picture like a like DIY's finisher.
Yeah.
Sort of like that. They hit one of those, but from like a standing position.
Yes.
They hit one of those on Mambo, and that gets a 3 count.
Nice. So was that an expected result for you, or did you think Sunshine Machine would go over?
This is the only one I got wrong on this card.
Fair enough, and that was probably more from bias from you, to be honest.
To be fair, yeah. I mean, you can't sit behind me, but that's literally one of my hoodies back there. So
yeah, exactly. So, yeah, we always knew you were going to pick in this match. But good match overall.
Good match overall, absolutely. Not sure what it serves to do other than get Arrows of Hungary a bit more over and a bit more momentum going forward. I don't know if they're going to fight the Greedy Souls at some point for the titles. Yeah. I would assume that is the plan going forward. That at least going to be a credible threat in the tag division.
Yeah, exactly. You're beating the former champs as well, so it's a bit of credibility. And Sunshine Machine don't need the win here, so
precisely.
Fair enough. Well, so we move on to the main event. Did anything happen before this main event?
No.
Right. Okay.
So
moving on to the main event. It is Gabriel Kidd against Yota Tsuji.
Yes. Tsuji's back in the UK, I should say, after a while away. He's back now, and he's ready to fight again for the Legion for Gideon. Gideon, who's not here, I should add. Gideon, who he left with Sky, I think. I don't know where he went, but he wasn't here for this match. So this was just Tsuji and Kidd. So if you're familiar with New Japan, the Young Lion system, whatever it is, the LA Dojo, you're familiar that both of these guys are very stiff strikers. So yeah, you get an exchange of strikes and kicks between the pair of them. They're both pushing the other to do more strength, more power in their hits. Kidd fails a leapfrog during like the running back and forth, and in the process, I don't know if it's intentional, but Tsuji headbutts Kidd's midsection because of the failed leapfrog. I don't know if it's intentional or not. I don't know. But Kidd hits a shoulder tackle to take Tsuji down. We get to the outside where Gabriel Kidd is sent into a stack of chairs outside the ring, and by second chairs I mean audience chairs. I don't mean like just the one that's for the side. Like the fans got out of their seats, and Suji threw Kid into those chairs.
Yeah.
They both exchange a series of body slaps and then face slaps, which is like literally like, and then like literally is like just the typical like New Japan style of striking.
Yeah.
We then get Suji hits a serious suicide dive onto Kid, which sends Kid right into the back wall. So there's like a little staging area towards the front, and the suicide dive sends him flying straight. I think he lost balance a little bit as he fell back, and he just sort of like slammed against the wall at the back.
Nice.
We get back in the ring. Suji hits a Boston Crab. Kid then hits a top rope Death Valley driver onto Suji. That's not enough yet. We then get more slaps between the pair of them. And eventually, Suji is sort of like the one to fall to a knee. And that allows Kid to hit him with the spinning tombstone, which I'm not sure what he calls it, but that's his sort of go-to move. And that gets him the 3.
Nice. But yeah, so another main event, decent.
Yeah, absolutely. I think this is the match that most people are looking forward to outside of Oku Dennis. And the reason I say compared to is because not everyone would know the New Japan system.
Yeah.
Whereas more people I think would know Oku and Dennis just due to exposure. But that was the main event. And following this, we get an attack from Gideon Gray on Gabriel Kidd with a low blow. So that's where Gideon was. He was backstage waiting for his moment to attack someone, if need be.
Yeah.
And then we get the returning from injury, I should say, Ricky Knight Jr.
Nice.
So he makes a save for Gabriel, attacks Gideon, and then Kid and Suji fight to the back, essentially, like still throwing punches each other, and then they go to the back. This causes Ricky to have a bit of fun with Gideon, beats him up a little bit, and then cuts a promo saying how RevPro have not appreciated him, saying how RevPro didn't send him a message, they didn't call him once while he was injured. Whereas another company that he can't mention because contractually their company is Progress. But they basically, when Ricky was healed up from injury, Progress gave him a match straight away on the next card, which was the I can't remember the top of my head, but they gave him a match on the next card. But they said that, and then he said that he'll be at RevPro Rumble at your call. He'll be there no matter what anyone says, and if he got a match or not, he'll still be there.
Fair enough.
And then we end the show with that.
Nice, but yeah, good show then.
Very good show. It was my first Love in London show, and there've been 70 of these.
Yeah, I was going to say this is the first one, and this was 70.
Yeah. But yeah, the first one.
Well, at least you went. That's the main thing.
Exactly. Yeah, and it was thoroughly enjoyable. I'd seen these on VOD. I wanted to have one of these one day, and I finally pulled the trigger, and I don't regret it. I think I chose a pretty good card to come on as well.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, so that'll bring an end to the review. So once again, thanks for attending this show, DP. As always, you are doing some stellar work with your attending of shows. You've got a few coming up as well. So yeah, if you want to let people know where you'll be going, and they can come and say hello.
Off the top of my head, I'm trying to think when the video will be going out, but as we're recording this, I've got Purpose Wrestling, Friday I'm in Love on the Friday the 10th.
Yep.
I will have Progress Chapter 150 When the Man Comes Around on Feb 26th. That's in Camden, London. The other is in March, but we'll get to those when we get to those.
Yeah, no, fair enough. Well, thank you for joining us, guys. As always, like, subscribe, comment, tell us what you like, what you don't like. Follow us on YouTube. We've got our individual Twitter handles just down here. The show handles are up here. I think I'm pointing in the right place.
It's still that way. But yeah,
that way. So follow them on there. But yeah, any likes and subscribes and follows, we much appreciate. We will be we stream video games on Twitch, so give us a follow on Twitch if you've got that, and jump on whenever we're on. Hoping to get a recording session in soon. But yeah, apart from that, from me, that is good night, and from DP,
that will be au revoir.
See you on the next one, guys.
Peace.